Ladies and gents, we've had the much-awaited Brazilian Grand Prix qualifying session, which was meant to take place yesterday. It's taken place first thing on Sunday morning, just before the race. There's only a few hours gap between qualifying and the race. They've brought the two together and shortened the time to give themselves potentially more time to run the race should they need it, with daylight running out fast was probably one of the big problems for qualifying not taking place yesterday with it all. The torrential downpour. I won't go into yesterday. It was a bore fest, just waiting and delaying and whatever, but we got to where we got to. And well, news ahead of this session though, Max Verstappen was given a 5-second penalty for a infringement on the VSC when he went up alongside Oscar Piastri. He will now finish P4 behind Charles Leclerc. Leclerc just within 5 seconds of Max Verstappen, and well, gains another point there. And well, it wasn't a good session for Max Verstappen. It's not been a good weekend so far. It can all change though. He will take a 5-place grid penalty for this session because of the engine change. Let's just jump straight to it. It's been all red, hasn't it? 5 red flags. I can't remember the last time I've ever seen that. And when you look at the incident and how much the car struggled today, where the rain was clearly not as bad as it was yesterday, they absolutely made the right decision yesterday to not run the cars, because I imagine we'd seen a lot more red flags yesterday than we did today, and some serious crashes. This place looks mega difficult to drive, doesn't it? Completely wet qualifying session. Q1 was all on full ultra wets, should we call it, and the first red flag from Franco Colapinto, didn't it? A spin with 8 minutes to go in that session, and at that time it looked like the red flag could potentially cause trouble for Lando Norris, who was out of qualifying at that stage. Just squeezed through right at the end of that session. The star of that session was Alex Albon, a P2 in that one, a brilliant lap from him, but some shocking performances. Well, big one really. Zhou Guan Yu, and it's not him, will start up in 20th place. Nico Hülkenberg 19th. Normally the qualifying master and does well around here in Brazil, has done before. You'll be disappointed with that. Franco Colapinto finished 18th, who caused the red flag. Ollie Behrman in 17th place. I predicted it'd be a difficult weekend for the Haas, and qualifying has been terrible for them. Both out in a Q1. We've not seen that for an absolute long time. And Lewis Hamilton, the rain master, out in P16. He was just so frustrated. His sector 2 was 1.6 seconds slower than George Russell in that session, which he was just absolutely all over the place. He was seen on board, he was sliding, he just couldn't get this. Even on slow turn-ins, the front end was going, the rear end was going, it was just absolutely nowhere, that car. And then we got into the craziness of Q2. Wow, this qualifying session has been like a race in itself, hasn't it? An hour and 40 minutes. Q2 was, mad, wasn't it? Carlos Sainz with the first red flag on that one. The slowest crash I've ever seen in a Formula 1 car, wasn't it? Just as he went out of turn 1 down into turn 2, slow, and it caused a lot of damage to the rear of that car. So hopefully no gearbox or engine penalties due for him. But yeah, he tops off what is not a great session for the Ferraris. They've been brilliant before this weekend, and here they've really struggled. Let's get to the quick order. P15 for Pierre Gasly, and I'd be really disappointed. He's been brilliant in qualifying so far this season, but this one, he really struggled, just dropped out of it. And then we've got the big hitters, isn't it? Carlos Sainz, 14th place. And then we've got the 2 Red Bulls, Sergio Perez in P13, Max Verstappen in P12, and Valtteri Bottas in P11. Verstappen will start 17th after this 5-place grid penalty, but the second red flag is all the talk here, isn't it? Especially from Christian Mona. It came out 40 seconds after the crash. Lando Norris got his lap in, who had the red flag been thrown then. Potentially might have struggled to get around and do a lap. A couple other guys got their laps in, which meant pushed Verstappen just out because he was in the top 10 at that stage. Both Red Bulls were in the top 10 at the stage of Stroll immediately crashing. Now, we've seen with the other ones it took 20-25 seconds for the red flags to come out. It was a bit slower on Stroll's. I can see where, like Christian Horner would say, we should call it immediately. It should be a stop, immediate stop, but it just never works like that. we should see it go as long as it can go. If it's with anyone there, if you complete the laps. I've always said that if there's nobody immediately at that point of the circuit when the incident has happened, let people complete the laps. If it's going to be another 30 seconds before the next car come round, let it run 30 seconds, because that's what we really want, is guys to complete their lap who were. We've seen it before, where meters away from the finish line. It's so frustrating because at the time there'd be no one around the incident or area of the incident, and there's no sort of danger to anybody there. He's in a wall, and so really in them circumstances, they should just give it that 5 or 10 seconds, especially when you can see so many people just coming up to that line. Was it the right call? I don't actually know. Was there any people or other drivers around the lap where Stroll had crashed into the barrier? If not, they should have just let it run as much as they could until the next car was coming around into the area where Stroll was crashed out. There is then a safety concern and probably should throw the red flag. So that's just my view on it. Love to hear your thoughts on that one. But yeah, Lando Norris just got the lap in, didn't he, before that red flag was thrown. It really cost the 2 Red Bulls, and they were massively unhappy with that. There's a long race to go though, even from P17 with the cars ahead, and how quick that Red Bull looked, especially in the first couple of sessions. I know he'd be disappointed he went out in that second one, but they look really, really quick around it and look quick in the rain. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that one pans out. And then we got to Q3. We got a red flag for Fernando Alonso, didn't we? Norris just got his lap in before that red flag was thrown. We thought potentially could Norris have got away with it again. It looked like, for all the world, the earlier red flags could have cost Norris, but they didn't. He got away with the first 2, and this one he just squeezed in. It looked like the look was changing a little bit. He got the pole position lap in before that red flag was thrown for Alonso, and then we got the big crash of Alex Albon, who actually, luckily for him, I don't know if it's luckily enough for him, but it was up in second place at that time, and then went for the run. And that turn 1 Brazil just doesn't suit Alex Albon. Sadly, I've seen him have too many big crashes into that corner. Let's hope the Williams guys can repair that car, because they actually look really fast. Alex Albon looks really fast in the rain in Brazil in qualifying. He looked like, he should have been right up there. Was P2 at one point, but they've got a big rebuild job, haven't they, the Williams? As of Aston Martin, both cars need rebuilding before the start of the session. I think Alex is the biggest car that needs rebuilding. There was all 3 tyres off, massive damage. It was high speed at the end of the straight. He felt there was an issue with the brakes, and the rear just snapped on him, and when you go in that fast deep into that corner, it's probably the quickest stopping point on the circuit, and yeah, he lost it. Big crash for him. Lucky he was all okay, but disappointing. An awful lot of work for him to do before they get that car on the grid. Let's take a quick look at the standings. Well, it was 10th for Lance Stroll, who did get into Q3 despite him causing the red flag in Q2. Fernando Alonso starts in P9 despite his red flag. Disappointing actually, because Fernando looked really good, isn't he? He's a master in the rain as well, so he can make the difference, and potentially had a couple of places he could have picked off. It was really disappointing though for Oscar Piastri. His just runs in Q3 just didn't come together at all. Yeah, that car should have been right up in the front. Them two look absolutely solid, don't they, the 2 McLarens? He's got a lot of work to do. He probably can make some decent places up. There's a big long race later on today, I was going to say tomorrow, for him to do that. Alex Albon lines up in P7 despite his big crash. Let's hope there's no penalties or gearbox changes that need doing, and he can actually get that car on the grid in time. There's an awful lot of work to be done, and not a lot of time for them to do that. Charles Leclerc lines up in P6, which tops up a pretty poor performance from Ferrari. They just never seem to get to grips with this track at all, have they? And in the rain, I thought, could they pull something out together? And actually they seemed worse than they did before. And then comes the brilliant 4, isn't it? Liam Lawson, a brilliant lap. He looked like he'd been second at one place right at the end. A really good lap from him. Ocon, P4 in the Alpine. His best qualifying performance we've seen for an absolute age. Really good to see him up there up the front. And Yuki Tsunoda with a P3, his career best pole qualifying lap. It was brilliant, absolutely mega. And then George Russell with another one, a stunning lap to come home in second place. That Mercedes really struggling, and George just got it all together. So we've got Lando Norris right up at the front, exactly where he needs to be. He'll be just hoping for a smooth sailing sort of wet track that dries, or steady track without any incidents, but going off what we've seen in just qualifying, I know the guys are pushing out there, but 5 red flags we've seen in qualifying. I'm sure we can probably estimate some a lot of safety car running. Apparently the weather conditions might be getting worse, so will we even get a race start? Christian Horner sort of throwing that up there. Who knows, but it'll be massively exciting. We've got Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, Sergio Perez, Carlos Sainz, big hitters right at the back of the grid. The 2 Haas boys who we've seen go well in other races with an awful lot of work to do. And we've got Lando Norris, who's probably just praying for the most simple and straightforward race to come home and win the race. Hopefully his teammate can caught up behind him, but he needs as many people to fill in that gap. And potentially see Max Verstappen out of points. And if you can take away a big points out lead out of Max Verstappen, then we go into 3 races with a real title fight then, don't we? So looking massively exciting. Can't wait for the action to get going in a few hours. It's been a brilliant qualifying session. It just looks to be set for an absolutely crazy race. Let's see what happens. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe and comment as always. See you next time.